Good evening, everyone. Welcome to meeting of the Select Board on October 13th, 2025. It is 5 p.m. We have posted the agenda for this meeting in 3 places on our website and has emailed lots and lots of interested parties so that we are duly warned and we can proceed with having this meeting. Today's order of business, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda at this point in time? Being none, we're going to proceed with, let's start by doing our prior meeting minutes, and then we're going to move on to Sarah Wright, who is on a time schedule, so we're moving her to the top of the list. The cream always rises. I have read over the meeting minutes from September 29th, 2025, and I found everything to be accurate and in order. I move that we accept the meeting minutes for September 29th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, before we get to our departmental reports, we're going to move Sarah up into, or should we make this announcement about Teams? For people on Teams?
Oh, sure.
Okay. When people are let into the meeting on Microsoft Teams, they are automatically muted at this point in time, how we're set up. They can only be unmuted by you. They cannot unmute themselves, you being Kristen. It was suggested to me at the beginning of the meeting to announce that if people want to speak, so they should use the raise your hand option or type the question in the chat. And Kristen will be watching for that and you will get your opportunity. Sarah, are you with us? I thought she was going to be on. You got to do this in person.
So the housing committee, we have been meeting and trying to figure out possibilities for housing in Rochester. You know, the state did this 453-page report on housing, and they basically came up with a number of units for each town. Not sure how they came up with that. And so when I went to a meeting with Sarah Danley from the consortium, we asked, you know, how'd they come up? And they said, well, it's kind of a ballpark. So given Rochester's unique location and status, we wanted to find out what types of housing, where the housing, and so we talked to Two Rivers Ottaquiche about an area-wide study, and that's what Sarah is going to talk about. That is available through Two Rivers.
So just a little bit of background on what an area-wide plan is. This is sort of contextually, this is money that's come to Two Rivers Ottaquiche Regional Commission from US EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. We have a brownfields assessment grant, and as part of that grant, we have money to assist communities in preparing what's called an area-wide plan. This is money that we can give a community up to $25,000. There is no match component, and the money is already in hand. It's in our pockets, as it were. So there's no application process or anything like that. Right now, we have 2 communities in our region who are potentially interested in doing an area-wide plan. That includes Rochester, and I have money for 2 communities. So there's not even a wait list at this point if you wanted to proceed. But the background on what an area-wide plan is it's somewhat malleable of an animal, so it can really be shaped to fit a community's needs and what you want to accomplish with it. But the primary brownfields piece is looking at parcels that could potentially be contaminated. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term brownfield, a brownfield is any parcel that is either known or suspected to be contaminated based on a history of past use. And most properties that have not been in residential use are brownfields of one flavor or another. Often residential properties are brownfields because they had an underground heating oil tank, right? And those things leak very, very commonly. So Again, it doesn't have to have proven contamination. It can just be suspected contamination on the basis of the fact that there was a heating oil tank in the ground, and that's considered a brownfield. So an area-wide plan, what it does is it looks at a number of parcels in a defined area. And in Rochester's case, it would probably be in the village area if you wanted to do this. And it would do sort of a bird's eye view, a records search, as it were, for past uses of those properties to see, okay, well, what are some potential brownfields flags that might be coming up on these parcels? And the reason why that is a sort of central component of any area-wide plan is because it helps developers who are maybe interested in doing a project in that particular area to recognize that there are contamination issues that have to be addressed. I think, and I experience this a lot in the brownfields world, where people will come to me and they were sort of caught off guards midway through their project, and they're like, "Oh, we have a contamination issue. I never really thought for that before, right?" And then we have to scramble to somehow make funding work for them. Because they didn't start it the right way from the very beginning. So the idea of an area-wide plan is partly public education, and anybody who wants to do a project in the study area has a little bit more information at their fingertips to say, hey, you know, a couple of generations ago, this was a property that maybe was a tannery, you know, or maybe they burned a lot of coal there. You need to be aware of that, because if you want to build a residential home on that property, you don't want 2-year-olds running around putting their fingers in the dirt and then putting their hands in their mouths, right? Like, you've got to be sensitive to potential future uses of properties. So that's the sort of common element of every area-wide plan. And then beyond that, you can sort of build your own bear, as it were, right? Most of the times when it comes to an area-wide plan, we see some sort of market study that's built into it. And if we were to do a market study for an area-wide plan, it would be broader than just housing. Housing would be an important component in that it would be looking at what the gaps in the housing market are, what the existing housing stock is, what the demand for housing is in terms of types, price points, sizes, that sort of thing, and then where the gaps are in the market. So where is the opportunity for developing housing that would meet an unmet demand in the broader region, right? The housing market for an area. So that would be part of it. And then there's also a look at maybe retail and what are the gaps in the retail market, what could be done to improve that sort of market ecosystem, as it were, and just looking at sort of opportunities for potentially good kinds of outfits that could find a home in a particular study area and thrive there. So that's the market study component. And we did a similar thing for Randolph a few years ago. We did an area-wide plan, and market study was really the major part of that work. But we also see in area-wide plans sort of identifying specific parcels in a community and saying, okay, well, these are parcels that we'd like to see developed in the near future. So let's have some community dialogue about what would be nice to see there and what could it possibly look like in the future. So anytime we do planning, we want to make sure that there is that public dialogue component and the community's having a conversation about this stuff. So in Randolph, what we did is we picked out 2 different parcels. One was very large, one was smaller, and we had some community conversations about the kinds of uses that they'd like to see on that parcel moving forward, and then what kinds of design elements they would want to see on that parcel to make sure that it fit into the surrounding context. So we talked about things like massing of the building, size of the building, and what kinds of public amenities should be available, like bike racks and public art, and access for pedestrians and bicyclists and all the rest of that thing. So then typically, if we were to do that process for an area-wide plan, we'd end up with some nice conceptual designs that can then be presented as part of the report. And if there are developers who are working on a project in a community, that can help them sort of visualize, okay, well, there's already been public dialogue around this kind of development, and this would go over well, and so they can use that as they think about their own projects. None of it is dictating what a developer can or can't do in the future. It's really about arming folks with more information, communities and developers and residents with more information about where things stand and what the potential is for future development in the community. Rochester certainly has a number of parcels that could be considered brownfields just based on the past uses of them. And so this could be a good fit for your community within this specific framework of an area-wide plan. So that's sort of bird's eye view of what an area-wide plan is and what we do with it. And like I said, you can modify it so that it meets the needs of your community, meet the interests of people who are in the community, people who are working on the project. So I'll stop talking there and ask if anybody has any thoughts or questions or reactions
Of
to.
course I do. So in this study, are you taking into account the infrastructure that is in place to whether or not it can support additional housing?
Right.
Because that would be great to lump that in there.
Yeah.
In addition to, let's just say, oh, all of a sudden we have 30 new apartments within the village. That would be probably a bit much, but foot traffic is also another concern, because we don't have the best sidewalk plans currently in our town. And we have concerns over the existing layout of that foot traffic. So if we were to engage into a lot more foot traffic, we would like to see that in the plan too.
So my understanding, there's gonna be a steering committee that needs to be formed with the area-wide plan.
If town wants to move forward with an area-wide plan, there would need to be a steering committee. So you'd have maybe 5 to 7 people who would be willing to commit to regularly meeting over the course of maybe a 6-month period to sort of shape the scope of the study. And we would certainly want input from select board, whether that's somebody from select board who wants to sit on that committee or just like regular check-ins with select board at meetings and getting feedback and input along the way. So everybody.
I would be so excited about 6 months more meetings. Boy, that really goes well at home. We can talk about that, yes. Yeah, maybe we could do a rotation. That way you get different views from all 3 of us. We'll see.
Or, if it's too much, we also just can make sure that there's time during select board meetings to have conversation about how things are going and get input along the way. There's ways to.
That would be nice to keep it in the public opinion and
Right.
for people that's
For sure.
watch work and all that. Yep.
Right. Now,
Perfect.
to the foot traffic piece of this. So I want to make sure we're aware that there's sort of 2 separate tracks here. So my understanding is that the town has been talking with Rita Cito in our office,
Mhm.
possibly applying for a Better Connections grant.
You've heard that, huh?
We had a little.
Yes, we have.
Huddle.
Yes, we have. Plus, we are currently in a grant for improving one section of our sidewalk, which it keeps saying it's next year, but it's 100% funded, so let it ride. And then we want to take that sidewalk improvement and improve the intersection by where the convenience store is, because of the ever increasing use of our park all summer. People are now walking back and forth over to the convenience store. And then just generally people walking to and from the post office. They're just walking amongst the traffic. And I have received concerns from some taxpayers and citizens about that. I also was hoping someday to spearhead extending the sidewalks beyond the school, perhaps down to Kennedy Drive. And I know we have infrastructure down in that way as well, but there was, at one time, the road was extended a little bit further out to accommodate for people walking, and it seems as though that has disappeared throughout the decades. So that was another thing that I was kind of spearheading on my wish list.
Yeah.
So I'll throw that out.
So if the town would like to pursue a Better Connections grant, there's typically a market study that's part of that grant as well.
Okay,
And I talked to Rita about this because I was like, let's make sure we're not duplicating work, we're
Overlapping,
maximizing bang for the buck. But ultimately, even though there might be a little bit of duplicate data collection along the way, the 2 studies are really going to be looking at something different. So the Better Connections grant is really going to be looking at how to plan out foot traffic.
flow. Yeah.
Exactly, flow. And an area-wide plan is really going to be looking more at like uses of properties and then perhaps some flow, but more specifically like building layout on some specific properties if the town wants to do a deep dive onto some special parcels, right? So I see that there might be a little bit of overlap, but in the end, they're both going to be speaking to different goals if you wanted to pursue both.
I bring it up with everybody that comes in here, wants to give us money. So I'll just be repetitive and you, yeah, we can overlap, we can work together, we can coordinate benefits. However, but it is a goal of mine.
And from my understanding, there could be community members that have a parcel that are thinking about renovating and creating housing. And they could be part of this grant that we could put something out that says, if you're interested and you want your property looked at, then they can be part of this grant.
We could, I mean, what we would be offering would be, not so much like a private consultation,
Right.
but it would really be, okay, here is a parcel that we're gonna have a deep dive, community-wide conversation about as to like what, and then the owner of that parcel would be part of the conversation to say what their hopes and dreams and goals would be, and then the community would be in dialogue with them about what would be nice to see in the community. That's how that would sort of play out, if we found somebody who wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's important to lay out the aftermath as well. Once you decide to do this, you need to know that your property will then be classified as a commercial entity. You will have to make sure that it's all completely up to code. And to go a step further, people should check with their accountant to see how this is going to affect them tax-wise. I mean, we don't want somebody to end up losing benefits and Medicare and all that because their income is too high. So it has to go on both sides of it, the before, during, and after, when you do present to people. I had at one time suggested the possibility of like a TIF, like a tax relief for 2 or 3 years or whatever the design may be, to help people get over that initial shock of being on the other side of it.
Can I ask you about the brownfields aspect of this? Correct me if I misheard, but I thought I heard you say something about residences with in-ground oil tanks could potentially be brownfields. I mean, a few thoughts come to mind. Some people might not want their property to be designated as a brownfield for valuation purposes. I mean, that's on the negative side. On the positive side, a lot of times there's money available for development of brownfields, public money. I mean, is that something that you're going to fold into this?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. It's good to bring up. So, I'll do a very quick dive into brownfield liability, just so folks understand more, because this is a question that happens every single time I talk to anybody about brownfield. So, under US law, you are liable for contamination on your property, even if you did not cause that contamination, even if the previous owner caused it. As soon as you enter the chain of title, you are liable for contamination on that property. That liability does not change depending on who's aware that it's a brownfield. It just is, it just exists. And so an area-wide plan is not designating any properties brownfields. What it's doing is saying you should be aware that you have potentially a red flag for your property and you're liable for that if it turns out to be something, right? And so it's really just about arming people with knowledge and education. And yes, and they can then try to go after public money to help them deal with that issue if they need to, right? Or if they have a desire to. Some people don't want to deal with brownfield stuff, and so they just sort of push it under the carpet and they let it go, but they have to be aware that if they're going to sell their property, any informed buyer is going to want to look into that issue, right? And it could impact their sales negotiations and all the rest of it. So it helps to have as much information as possible before you enter that kind of a dance with a potential purchaser, right? Does that help address your concern?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
As Patty said, it now becomes like commercial. So does that mean Act 250 is also being involved in all this stuff
No.
too?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the size and scale.
Yeah, how many units are in the building? Yeah.
There are specific triggers, and in most cases, if you're putting in like a mother-in-law apartment, for example.
Well, yeah, that's
not
what,
that.
like I'm saying, you're actually building an actual apartment building.
Right, it would depend on the number of units. Yeah, I mean, the law is currently shifting as we speak, so it's hard to say based on a hypothetical situation, whether it would be triggering Act 250. But yeah, I guess it depends on exactly what you're contemplating. Yeah.
I'm good.
So, am I understanding that you're interested in pursuing an area-wide?
Yes.
plan alongside? Okay.
I mean, it'll bring forward beneficial information about our town. And so if it blossoms into more housing and more people coming into our community, we're not going to deny growth.
So, the first step, as Deb was saying, is to put together a steering committee. And the general flow of this would be that we would assemble a steering committee and get their input on how to shape the scope of the study, like all the different components that should be included and how we would want to approach public outreach and that sort of thing. And then I would go back to one of our, we have a number of contractors already on retainer to do this kind of work. And so I would go back to our contractors, find whoever's the best fit for this particular project and who has capacity to do it. And then we would start the process rolling. The town would not be receiving any bills. This is all funneling through Two Rivers grants. So there's no financial side of this for the town, which is really nice. So I guess the really first logistical question we have to deal with is how to assemble that steering committee. And
How many people need to be on it?
I would hope at least
3, 5, 7?
I would like to see more than just like 3 people guiding the process, but I understand that volunteers, everybody's exhausted and time is short. So
I mean,
Can you move on to the steering committee from the housing committee and be on the
Yeah.
steering committee?
yeah, I would think that it would mainly consist of the housing committee. I mean, that's kind of their
Well, and
focus, right?
what we could do is put out a call if someone's interested, you know.
Oh, yeah,
and-
yeah.
And,
Certainly.
you know, get 5 to 7 people,
Mhm.
and see, and
Yeah.
it's,
Do you think that's feasible for the
yeah.
housing
I mean,
committee to essentially serve as the steering committee?
Yeah, and I think that Sarah Danley also, she helped out with the Randolph one, I believe.
she was just on that one, but she did take a look at it. She
Yeah.
reviewed it.
So Sarah Danley also had volunteered to help us, you know, go through this, which would be helpful.
Great, so we've got a wheel turning.
So it sounds like I'll work with Deb on getting the word out to others to hopefully recruit some more folks.
Do we need to move it, approve it?
If you feel comfortable doing that, there's no formal required on.
Okay,
requirement
no.
on our end, but,
No, we're fine.
uh,
We're endorsing it.
So then let's be clear on how to involve select board moving forward. Will you just have a representative who's on the committee, or should I plan that we're having regular check-ins with select board?
You want to do regular check-ins or?
Do you?
I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm still
between,
trying.
between the 2 of us here, between the 3 of us, you could touch base, yeah, like you can hit us all 3 of us up, and then we'll see who's got the time to dip in and out, if that's okay. Like the select board can be one of those people.
And I can communicate to Sarah to come remotely to a meeting if there's questions or if you're gonna be in the area.
That sounds good. Okay. So any other questions for me or other
Not for me, I'm good.
Good.
So then I have one message from Rita, who couldn't be here this evening, but she did want to remind everybody that if the town does want to move forward with a Better Connections grant application, Rita can do that heavy lifting for you. Just let her know. She needs the say so of select board.
Yes, in our meeting, we had 3 different types of proposals, so I will get with her and see what it funneled down to. And yeah, we can definitely give our blessing for that. That program for public knowledge, which would have been part of my select board update, was, there's two phases, two pockets of money. One would be up to 65,000, the other one would be up to 100,000. But the town's obligation, the town's match would be $7,500. This is coming about in 2027. And so we'll just see which bucket we are getting into, the 65 or the 100,000, what we're getting, and then we will let everyone know. But it is a grant that does have a match. And so I will get with Rita to see which project she wants to throw at us. Because we threw a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what's gonna stick.
I think. Questions due
End of October.
Yeah, but
Yep.
Rita's got a bunch of other stuff that she's corralling too, so the sooner you can get in touch with her, the better,
Yep.
and the more sleep she will be able to get before. Okay, that sounds good, so, I think that's all from me.
Mhm, yep.
Appreciate it.
You're gonna make it to Hancock.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later, so I'll put you. Be on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna write it down. Okay, let's move on to our departmental reports. Do we have anyone online from the library?
No.
Highway.
Yep.
Utilities operator.
All's good, I guess.
Good report.
Still no fear of water levels dropping.
I have no way to tell.
Well, the pump was running all the time with that, because I was
It
thinking
would
about
turn
it.
it up if we ran out of water.
So the pump is happy. Happy pump, good water level. For people that are worried about that.
Yeah, I get emails all the time from the state.
Me too.
Energy coordinator. Well, we're not very popular in that, are we? Grant updates.
I don't have, the only thing that I have, is that I'm still working on the class 2 Bethel Mountain reimbursement. I should have that prepared for the next select board meeting for you to sign off on, so I can submit it.
Okay. And I just gave an update on one that we're considering applying for. VHI management updates.
Yeah, a couple of facility updates reported on behalf of Azure. Couldn't be here tonight. Last Wednesday, Pump Tech came and scoped the from the bathrooms and the main floor out to the tank and found no obstructions. Found that the cast iron pipe is in really good shape and suspected that it's the pipe between the tank and the distribution box is probably also in good shape. There's no evidence that it's not. So that was all good news. Suggested we change some flush valves in the bathrooms and nothing more than that at this point.
So the problems are more than likely superficial right there at the
Yeah.
the
At the toilet.
fixtures themselves.
Yeah,
That is good news.
yeah. And the other, Oops was out and did a review of the boiler and felt that it's in good enough shape to not worry about it right now, that it's good for several more years at least. There are concerns about the controls and just how they're working or not working. And I forget the name of the company, but the representative from the control, who services the controls, is going to be out next week with a fellow from Flukes to go over that with some of the volunteers. So Dick Robson and Robert Mayer and Asher were together with Flukes last Wednesday when they came in and did a review of where the controls and how to handle temperature control in the boiler room and what switches on the panel box do what. So it's a learning process, and we'll learn more about the controls, the temperature controls in the building at the next visit, which is being arranged for sometime when everybody can do that soon.
Okay,
So again, good news so far.
that's appreciated. We're having a good meeting so far. Let's move on to select board up. Any more discussion about VHI or anything? Nope.
Nope.
My part of the select board report, as I was just discussing, there was a meeting with Rita Cito from Two Rivers about Better Places Grant. We went through a pre-application process, which was like very simple. When we presented our ideas of improving bike paths, sidewalks, and possibly the intersection of Bethel Mountain Road, we got a very good response from them that our grant would probably be fitting for what we're looking for. So they encouraged us to go ahead and do the application, which is what we were just talking about with Sarah. That'll be coming about before the end of the month. I did get a call from John Hubble at the elementary school who was concerned about signage going around basically the circle of the parking lot. And he was requesting that signs need to be reviewed, removed, changed, turned around. And I pulled out the property line map, pointing out that we do not own that part of the parking lot. Therefore, it's on them if they want to change any signs. It's on elementary property. We only have a right of way to go through the circle to access our property. So he's up to speed on that now. We are still waiting on a decision from John Champion about the make of truck that he would like to buy and which company he would like to outfit that truck with so that we can proceed with purchasing that truck. We can't go after the financing unless we have an invoice in hand to present. So I would like to get that moving. We've been anticipating that since May or earlier this year. I'd like to get that moving along. So I will continue to pursue that. No, as a matter of information for the public, there is still no application filed on the cell tower as of today. And there are still only two opinions on the PUC website. One is a private citizen that is in favor of it, and the other one is from the planning board itself, asking the state of Vermont to do the homework from all of their respective departments on this. So it's in a stalemate at this point in time. We will be the first to report if the application itself does get filed, and that would need to be filed prior to November 29th. I have been receiving communications from Bruce Marshall and Janine Weir about their property. They have been asking for the town to unrecord a document from many years ago. Last year, we were advised by our town attorney to not take any action against that request. They have come back at us recently requesting and demanding that recorded document from Lyman Hall be unrecorded. And I once again needed to contact our town attorney asking for advice. And he did respond to them today that it is his advice to the town to not unrecord a document. So hopefully that issue will be at an end before we need to spend more legal dollars on something like that. And the Two Rivers, back to Rita Cito, she had two different grants coming at us. We met with John Champion and I met with Rita. The office ladies were there as well. There's a transportation alternative programs and the regular annual municipal highway and stormwater grant. I believe that we were zeroing in, John Champion took Rita on a little field trip around, and I think they zeroed in on ditching and paving on the upper section of Quarry Hill Road for next year. And so they will be looking for grant funding to assist us with that. As much of the road will be done as the grant will allow. It's probably what will happen. And that is my select board report. Do anyone have anything to add to that they've been working on or doing?
And for me,
Okay, so we're ready to move on to new business. And I think that I would be handing over a lot of this to Chad. We we are under our new business, we have we already did the housing committee, but we are adopting a facility use policy and writing on the back of that, adopting a one-time facility application. So this came together and Chad was spearheading this for the most part, correct?
that
Yeah.
is true.
That was not I. So take it away, Chad. Do you want? You've got copies?
Yeah, do you have a copy of the freshly printed one?
I have.
I have like every copy, so. Thank you. Yeah, so we, using just the boilerplate template, came up with a facility use policy to be applied to the hub building. This room right here, it's town office conference room, and Riverside Park, which is the park down by the firehouse. So this policy would allow catering events and class 1 and 2 alcohol sales involved with those events at those properties. So I guess you guys had a chance to,
With a licensed bartender, licensed and insured
Yeah.
bartender, event insurance, there's a lot of
Yeah.
protections built into the
I thought the
application.
alcohol was only for the 2 locations. I think the conference room was just a rental. Would
okay.
be on the facility.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I
So
guess,
no drinking
yeah,
in
this
the
room
select
is
board meeting?
just for rental fees. So if you guys have had a chance to review it and you're okay with
I
it,
have read
I
it
would
over.
make a motion that we accept that as a
I have a
facility use
question.
policy.
It is written into, after the event, the space would be inspected
Mhm.
for, any damages and all of that. Who is going to be tagged with doing that inspection?
Well,
Hmm.
I would, for the hub building, I would put that in the hubs. The Hub Incorporated's lap, PHI's wheelhouse, and then for the others, I had just, I guess, assumed that it would be one of us or potentially have one of the town crew just since they drive by it every day,
Yeah,
down at
I
the
just
park,
want to put that
put
out
eyes
there.
on it and say, yeah, they did fine, or no, it needs work.
And I was also thinking about the security deposit. If we were to ask for that in the form of a check and just hold the check until after it's done, rather than do general ledger numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would probably be best way
Yeah,
to
we
do
were
it.
talking
Yep.
about that.
And so we would not take a credit card for that. If we did, we wouldn't run it,
We're gonna be
but it'd be a
probably
check.
getting rid of the credit card option anyway, so yeah, no credit card.
Okay, so
The
then,
next agenda.
I'm good with it. You go ahead with your motion.
Okay.
Linda,
With the parts of the building at PHI that are used with that the school uses, would it include those parts of the building? Because years ago, I remember there was something about school and alcohol and all that stuff.
So it would include the property as a whole property. The school is leasing the space for 2 days a week.
2 days a week.
But we would not approve an event to be happening at the same time that school would be in session in that area of the building.
Or even the night
Regardless.
before, like say, if they do Tuesday and Thursday and somebody was doing a Wednesday night thing. You know, I don't know if maybe check with Jamie if there's any like prohibition about that.
So it's not school property anymore. So the school, as far as the school's regulations to do with their property, their regulations don't apply to that building anymore. They're leasing the space. And whoever was leasing the space for a night before event or anything like that would be charged with making sure that it was cleaned up, and then, the hub folks would have to check it, either right after the event or first thing in the morning before anyone got in there.
Yeah, and that's written into the application
Mhm.
very strictly.
Yeah.
Nancy,
Is this a policy that has to be posted for 30 days?
it's not an ordinance, it's a policy, so, we can, I mean, we don't have anything pending.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I
there-
thought we approved that separate. I thought,
Yeah, well, so this being approved, they actually have an application coming right behind this,
okay,
for an event,
okay.
provided this gets approved.
I don't know that it needs to be posted for 30 days, because we're adopting a policy and not an ordinance. So I think we have the right to adopt a policy. When we had done the last policy, whatever it was, I think we did put a meeting in between it. We spoke about it. We have been speaking about this for the last 2 or 3 meetings.
Two anyway, yeah.
Can always put it out to review for an addendum. If there's any questions.
Right. And allow Aja to do her application.
We actually have the application here today.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the event would not be within, or it's within, before the 30 days it would be up.
We're looking at the 15th week of November. So I guess technically we do have 30 days, but we can't wait to promote this.
It's a plan.
We just started promoting it yesterday.
Right, right. Well, we're approving the policy, so
That was the reason that I went with a policy versus
an ordinance, right.
That was one of the reasons. The other reason being what it actually takes to put an ordinance in place. It can always be amended.
Mhm.
I mean, that's, if things come up, we need to try it out somehow.
Right, like it's new to us.
So we're not gonna know how, how the wheel turns unless we go through the motions and see how it functions. This could very well be something that we end up, deciding that next year we want to get rid of it. So that's the chance we take.
Okay, well, I would go with a motion that we approve it. And if it's so noted that we need to wait 30 days, we can go ahead and approve it pending a 30-day notice. And then we can still accept the application because we're still within the 30 days. So
Mhm.
we may have to have a special meeting. I don't have any fear that your event will not be approved. And we're within the 30 days because today's only the 13th. So we'll be coming in right in, then we're going to accept your application tonight.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't let that deter you. Sure.
Mhm.
I don't see why not.
Right. So I move that we accept this policy for the mentioned properties of the town.
I second that. All in favor?
I,
Aye. I don't have that on my little cheat sheet.
Did you see that? That's just the.
Yeah.
so-
No, I saw it, yeah.
Okay,
Let's see that here. I need to have this. And if we need to pull together a special meeting for any reason,
Is this also for
we
the,
can do that.
is this also for the facility use application? Because that's a separate document.
Yeah, there are two documents there.
oh, do we have to adopt this? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I guess for my next motion, I would move that we, accept this facility use agreement
As written.
template as
Application.
written, for use, in the application of the use of said properties through the facility use policy.
A second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, and so we are going to accept your application.
We have the application.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, for the bar services, we have their certificate of liability insurance and the certificate of property insurance. Plus their scope of work summary.
And what's the anticipated head count on this one? Okay, well, I was just curious on that.
Okay, and we will review this and we will get back to you in due time. Don't worry about that.
Again, we are okay to promote this online and
you're good to go.
Yeah, you're good to go on that. Yeah, and all we have to do is check on that. And you guys can also read this over too. Do not lose that. Do not walk away with it.
No.
I do that. I walk away with stuff all the time. Do we have any old business to discuss? Online,
Nope, no hands.
public comment? Have we covered everything?
I think so.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.